Okay, so what we're going to do today is a lot like we did with the decimals. We want to be able to compare fractions together now. But we're going to run into an issue, and is how do we do that whenever we're looking at, like, for example, here I have 2 over 3, and then I have 7 over 10. I can't add or subtract them and base them off of which is bigger because I get a negative number or anything like that, because I can't add it or subtract these without a common denominator. So whenever we go to compare these, we're going to treat it just like we're going to try to add them together. We need to get a common denominator. And that's why we just did the greatest common factors and least common multiples, because they're going to be talking about lowest common denominator, which is nothing more than a fancy way of saying the least common multiple of 3 and 10. So you should be thinking, what if I started to write out all the multiples of 3 and 10, what would be the first one I come to? And your answer is going to be the 30. And I'm not going to write out all the multiples of 30 there because that would be a lot, right? So we got 30 is the least common multiple. Now the trick is that I got to get these guys, the denominators, to be that least common multiple. So the goal is that I want to see 2/3 turn into something equivalent that has 30 as a denominator, and I want to see the same thing happen with 7 over 10. I want something 7 over 10 to look like something with 30 on the bottom. And the trick of this is going to be, we have to think to ourselves, 3 times what number would get me to 30? And we should be thinking that's 10. 3 times 10 gets me to 30. Whatever I do to the bottom of that fraction, I have to do to the top. That way I'm not actually changing what the fraction is. So the top of this, 2 times 10 is 20. So 2 over 3 is the same thing as 20 over 30. Let's repeat that for the 7 over 10. I need to get the 10 to turn into a 30. How do I do that? Well, 10 times 3 is 30. So I need to do that to the top as well. 7 times 3 is 21. So this winds up being 21 over 30. So now the question is, when we compare these guys, what do we get? I have 20 over 30. I have 21 over 30. Which one's larger? Hopefully we're thinking 21 is bigger than 20. So it is 20 over 30 is less than 21 over 30. Try the next one on your own. Choose whether you think it's going to be less than, greater than, or equal to. Click continue when you're ready to check your work and work it out with me. So we need the least common multiple of 8 and 12. If I started to write out I always like doing the bigger number first because I might recognize a number that works for both. So for example, I start doing this and I go, wait, I know 24 is a factor of 8, but I'll just show you guys. 8 is 16, 24. 24 is going to be the lowest common, or the least common multiple, or the lowest common denominator for these two. So I want to get 3 over 8 to equal a fraction that has 24 on the bottom. And I want 5 over 12 to be a fraction that has 24 on the bottom. When we think about this, 8 times what gets me to 24, and that would be 3. So I need to multiply the top by 3 as well. This becomes 3 times 3 is 9. So this fraction is 9 over 24. For 5 over 12, 12 to get to 24 is times 2. So I need to do that to the top as well. 5 times 2 is 10. So when I compare these, I have 9 over 24, comparing it to 10 over 24. Which one is larger? 10 over 24 is larger than 9 over 24. All right, one more. Give it a shot. See what you guys come up with. So we're looking for the least common multiple of 7 and 14, and this one is going to be nice and simple. If not as simple as writing an M apparently. There we go. All right. Least common multiple of 7 and 14, and it's going to be flat out 14. It's going to be real nice and easy. 14 is the least common multiple. So I only need to get the 5 over 7 to turn into something with a 14 on the bottom. The 11 over 14 is already done for me. I already have the lowest common denominator on that one. I don't have to change the 14 to anything. So 7 times what gives me 14? 2, which means I need to multiply the top by 2, and I get 10. So this is 10 over 14. And we're comparing that to 11 over 14. And again, this one is 10 over 14 is less than 11 over 14. All right. What I want you guys to do for the live lesson is come up with some real world situations where you might need to compare fractions. So stop and think and come with a couple different scenarios on where in the real world would we compare fractions. And we will see you guys at the live lesson.